Hey everyone, it's Ian. Welcome to this week's Ian Cast. I want to start off this week by talking a little bit about Tesla. If you have Tesla stock, congratulations, because right now you are making a lot of money. The stock is way up. It's almost $500 as of the time I'm recording, which is Thursday. But there's a lot going on with the stock right now. First of all, a couple days ago, they started their deliveries in China, 1,000 cars a week, which is huge. China, of course, is by far the leader in EV sales in the whole world. Of course, 1.4 billion people live there, so that is a big, important market for Tesla. And their factory there, they're going to be able to make 500,000 cars a year, a lot of supply to meet even more growing demand in China. So that is big news for them. It's going to be a big boost to their sales, and it's going to be what we believe a big boost to their stock price. And another big boost to their stock price is the fact that a lot of people took profits recently. As you can see in this chart here, the number of accounts on Robinhood, which is a really, really popular app for trading. Some of you might even use it. I know it's very popular with millennials, but you can see that a lot of people right now have taken profits and they're just starting to get back in. At the end of that chart, you can see that spike. The number of accounts with Tesla is just going straight up because, a lot of people saw that Tesla had gotten to like the high $300 range and sold off really quickly after that. So maybe there was a lot of profit taking around there, but this time was completely different. There's so much demand right now, and that's going to keep going even higher because all these people got out. So now there's a lot of money on the sidelines, and people are just now starting to buy back in at like $480. So that is a big deal for Tesla, both for the company and for the kind of supply and demand for their stock. And finally, about Tesla, it is now the highest valued car maker ever for the entire world. Almost $90 billion is the valuation for Tesla now. So that is a big deal. Just the market is finally catching on to what they're doing, the importance of the electric vehicle market, and the importance that they are really the pioneers there. So that's what I wanted to cover with Tesla. With pot, Illinois, of course, legalized recreational marijuana on January 1st. It was a big hit, $3.2 million in sales on day one alone, $11 million in sales the first 5 days. So clearly a huge market. And that the first day, $3.2 million, that's like 50% higher than the average day for all of Canada, which has 3 times more people than Illinois. And in one of our services, the $10 million portfolio, we have a few companies that are really, really big in Illinois. And it's part of this trend that we're seeing where the US is about to just dominate the global pot market. And by 2024, it's expected to be over a $40 billion market. Like I've said before, I think it's going to be more than that, because as we've seen, it's disrupting the tobacco industry and the alcohol industry, which in the US alone combined is a $2 trillion market. Pot, 40 billion by 2024 seems really low considering how much market share they're already taking from these trillion-dollar industries. And finally, I want to talk about Bitcoin because of all this kind of speculation about that. It did see a big price spike recently from like $6,800 to $8,400, and that is a good thing. And I want to show you this chart that really shows the big amount of supply demand imbalance that's going to happen in the very near future, and it's been happening actually for Bitcoin. You can see this is called the Bitcoin Millionaires. It's any account which has over 1,000 Bitcoin in it, which is multi-million by now, maybe even billion. But this is the number of accounts has just gone up. When the price dropped a lot in 2018, nobody sold of these big buyers, these people that are really taking up all the supply of Bitcoin, the ones that really, really matter. They don't sell when Bitcoin crashes 80%, and that's huge. That's unlike the stock market where you see all this panic from hedge fund managers and these billionaires that get completely out of the market. They say it's the end of the world. With Bitcoin, you've got the same level of demand from these big buyers that really prop the market up. And with the halving coming up in May, is going to get even more important when these people hold on, because the amount of new Bitcoin entering the market, of course, is going to be cut in half. So the supply is just going down. The demand is only staying steady in the worst of times and going up in the best of times. And this kind of follows a principle that's pervasive through all markets, but with Bitcoin, it's really, really important to realize, and that is demand at higher prices. So now if you're just getting into Bitcoin, you're just starting to hear about it, you kind of heard about it before when it hit 20,000, but didn't really pay attention. You'd be like, wow, I would have bought like a whole Bitcoin if I had known all this when it was 3,000. But the realistic probability of you doing that is very low, because at the low, there's like no demand. It's really the same as with stocks. Nobody's buying, everybody's fearful, but the law of demand at higher prices says that when it goes up, there's more demand, which is completely true. Because when you see it at 3,000, you're like, I don't know, it might go to zero. But then when it's at 8,000, you're like, wait, maybe I'll buy in. And then it goes up to 10, 12, 14, like it peaked in June, and everybody's buying. And then it goes down and everybody sells, and they don't want to buy back in for a while because they just lost some money. And that is the demand of higher prices, or demand at higher prices. So that's really important to note, because right now Bitcoin's kind of bottoming out around 7,000. It got down below 7,000 a couple times recently, but there's not that much demand. But when it goes up, $10, $15, $20,000 again, more people are going to be buying in, and that's going to push the price up, because demand is higher at higher prices. It's really that simple. And we saw this before in 2017 when it went from like a few $100s to 20,000 in a year, because it really was unknown by the general public when it was at like $500. But then once it started making headlines and everybody was talking about it, people were becoming millionaires in like a week, and that just drove demand even higher. So it's kind of like a herd mentality, but right now we are at the point where the demand is kind of low. And as we see it start to go up, maybe because of the halving, or just because of the overwhelming demand that we're seeing by big buyers, which we saw in that chart, we're going to see even higher demand push it up even more. And as Paul and I have said, we think it's going to hit $100,000 this year. So we believe it's going to be a very, very big year for Bitcoin. So I know it can be kind of discouraging to just see it like fumble around like 7,000, 7,500 for a little bit. But I think now we really are at the point where it could make a very big run in a short amount of time. And I think this is going to be a very big year for Bitcoin. So just remember, when the price goes up, demand goes up too. And that's what causes the big rallies that we've seen before in Bitcoin. That is all I have for this week. This is Ian for Bold Profits, everybody. I hope you have a great Friday and a great weekend.